Hi, and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's quick review for Black Mirror Seasons 1 through 3. This video is a part of a series of videos where I give a quick spoiler-free review of a show currently airing. This video is where I cover the first 3 seasons of the Netflix show Black Mirror. So these videos are meant more for those who haven't seen this series, but those who have will know more of what I'm talking about. So Black Mirror is being called a modern day Twilight Zone, and I kind of agree with that, as like the Twilight Zone, it's an anthology series with a dark tone and tends to have stories in the fantasy and science fiction genre. However, I would describe the feel of Black Mirror as quite different than the Twilight Zone, as I would describe it as more dramatic and character based and less plot driven and gimmicky as the Twilight Zone was. Black Mirror is aptly named, as it's basically a dark look at our own society through the genre of science fiction. It makes commentary on modern day society's use of technology, sometimes by following these technology trends to make some logical predictions where it might lead in the future, while other times, though, it does it through the use of metaphor that mirrors how technology affects our society today. And sometimes it does a combination of both. Before I watched Black Mirror, I saw a video that was warning people not to binge the show. Black Mirror had its first 2 seasons air exclusively in the UK, where Season 1 only had 3 episodes and Season 2 had 4 episodes. Season 3 was picked up 4 years later on Netflix, and thus international audiences that had never heard of the show, like myself, were suddenly being introduced to it, and so the urge was to binge the show. But this video warned that this was not the type of show that you should binge, and to do so would shatter your soul and leave you wanting to cry yourself to sleep in a fetal position every night. However, I had already had plans to binge it, so I went ahead and did it anyway. However, I did limit myself to 1 or 2 episodes per night, so it's not like I watched the whole thing in one day. And I wouldn't say it broke my soul, but it was very heavy and oftentimes disturbing material, so I could see how watching a lot of it in one day would be a bit daunting, and it did take a little while to process each episode, but I didn't regret binging it in this way, although I would suggest to limit yourself to 1 or 2 episodes per night, just so, if anything, to process each episode. So not every episode was science fiction, but the majority were. This is a totally unique anthology series because it focuses mostly on modern technology and society in terms of stuff like social media, the internet, and other more modern technologies that weren't really speculated on back in the 60s or even the 90s. And yes, it tends to show the darker side of these technologies, and more often than not is a warning on how things may go in the future and what to avoid. Some examples include an episode about technology where everyone can instantly recall any memory and watch it on a TV screen for everyone to see, or technology that accesses all social network emails and other public records of a loved one who has passed, to allow those grieving to have the appearance of talking to someone who has died, or an implant that everyone has that allows people to block someone so that you cannot hear or see them and they cannot hear or see you. And some episodes present alternate societies, like a society that spends all of its time cycling and is forced to watch various entertainments while just tediously cycling all day long to produce energy, or a society where everyone rates people on how nice they are, and those ratings affect everything such as job status, loans, and everything else. And some episodes have surprise endings, but not all of them. So, as an anthology series, every episode has a completely different story set in a different hypothetical society with different characters, and unlike some anthology series such as The Outer Limits, there are no follow-ups or companion episodes, so every episode is standalone, and as such it doesn't matter what order you watch the show in. However, I decided to watch them in chronological order, and my opinion is that the first episode of this series is by far the worst, so I would advise anyone else who's watching the show in chronological order not to be discouraged by the first episode and to keep watching as it does get better. And a common complaint I would have of many of the episodes is that the ending seems a bit contrived and felt a bit fake, but that of course doesn't apply to every episode, as some I thought were totally excellent and worked throughout. And overall, I'd say the show had many interesting episodes, and even those with bad endings were still interesting to watch throughout most of it. Not all of them were depressing or disturbing or even dark for that matter, but I would say a majority of them were. And I personally preferred the first two seasons to the third, which was, the third season was the first on Netflix that had 6 episodes, making it twice as long as the other seasons. I personally found the third season to be a bit more Hollywoodified, but that's not to say that it was overall bad. I still enjoyed it, and one episode in particular I absolutely loved. So my rating for Black Mirror seasons 1 through 3 out of 10 is a 9 excellent. Overall, I would highly recommend all seasons of Black Mirror and would say it is a truly unique series with strong characters and very relevant, dramatic stories that are very heavy and emotionally impactful. Even if it doesn't always work, it always gives you something to think about, and the portrayals of the characters in every episode is very realistic and top-notch, and it always features great production values, acting, and storytelling. So as for the question of will I watch the next season, the answer is a resounding yes. In fact, I can't wait for it. I think it was a brilliant move on Netflix's part to pick up this brilliant series and bring it to the attention to wider audiences worldwide, and I can't wait to see what they do with it next. So that's it for my quick review of Black Mirror seasons 1 through 3. Be sure to keep an eye on it on my channel, as I plan to do more quick reviews in the future, as well as many more videos on shows like Game of Thrones, Star Trek, Humans, The Walking Dead, and more. So be sure to subscribe so you can keep up with all of that. Thanks a lot for watching.